Geek Out essay. Hi, it's Colleen, and I'm back again at GenCon. I'm here with Tony DiTerlizzi.
Nice, well done.
Yes,
Yeah,
that was my
very
teacher.
good.
Try it, your last name.
DiTerlizzi.
DiTerlizzi.
Yes.
Can I call you Ben? No, because I don't know how to say your name. No, Tony's really easy, so it's really nice to meet you.
Oh, thanks, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
So I wanted to come and talk to you because, shockingly enough, I'd like to tell my audience I'm a teacher.
Dun, dun, dun.
That's a running joke. I like to talk about being a teacher way too much. And so
I owe you homework. Is that what it is?
You owe me some homework. I need a book report on the Spiderwick Chronicles,
yes,
please.
okay,
yes.
that I might be able to handle.
So those of you that don't know, Tony actually wrote Spiderwick Chronicles.
Yes, with Holly Black.
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about what the book concept is, and for my students that watch, so they kind of know what the book is about and they can check you out at the library?
The Spiderwick Chronicles follows three children, all siblings, Jared, Simon, and Mallory Grace. And they're in a newly separated family, unfortunately, and they're moving into their great uncle Arthur Spiderwick's old home. And no sooner do they move in than they find this old field guide, like an old Audubon field guide.
Oh, cool.
But unlike an Audubon guide filled with birds and insects, this one's filled with fairies, trolls, goblins, brownies. And as they realize all that stuff is real,
Nice.
and fairies, trolls, goblins, and brownies then are chasing after them to try to get the field guide.
That sounds right up my alley. That's exactly the type of book I like to read, so it's definitely on my list of things to read.
Good.
I've also seen some of your amazing art. I always get this really earthy feel when I see your artwork. You know, it's very connected to nature.
Yes.
What was some of your inspiration for your artwork?
You know, I grew up in South Florida, and I was definitely that kid that like caught bugs and snakes and lizards and was fishing. So I think I really grew an appreciation for natural beauty, both in the beautiful things and in the grotesque stuff that I really loved, you know, playing around with as a kid. So nature has always been a huge inspiration. And there's other artists that do the same thing. I think of Arthur Rackham, who was a turn-of-the-century children's book illustrator who did a lot of fairy tales for Grimm's fairy tales and Andersen's fairy tales. He was a huge inspiration. Brian Froud and Alan Lee came out with a book in the 70s called Fairies. Alan Lee went on to do all the visuals for a movie trilogy you may have heard of called Lord of the Rings, which he won an Academy Award for.
Yeah, Lord of the Rings. I don't know if any of our audience have heard of that, but yeah.
And then Brian worked with Jim Henson on a couple of films, notably The Dark Crystal and later Labyrinth with David Bowie.
Oh, wow. Those are two amazing films also.
Yes.
So those are great inspiration points for your artwork.
They were, yeah, huge inspiration for me.
So really, you know, anybody out there can find their inspiration and kind of find themselves and grow into the type of artist. I've seen a lot of people on DeviantArt doing tributes to you in
have
your
you?
style.
Oh,
yeah.
wow, that's awesome.
So now you can be the mentor. And
now I'm the old guy. Yeah,
you're
great.
the old guy. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to bring that up. Hashtag old people problems. We talk about that on the show. Yeah, he's not old. He's fine. So you're here at GenCon. So I wanted to tell some of the GenCon audience, what are you doing here at GenCon?
Well, I got my start actually illustrating for Dungeons and Dragons and did Magic cards. And,
Magic cards
yeah, I did a lot of
too.
cards for
Yeah.
Magic the Gathering in the 90s. And even though I always wanted to be a children's book author and illustrator, I was able to find work working for these games. And I think the thing that I didn't realize was that working on these games helped me become a better children's book author and illustrator, because these games really focus on creating worlds. There's a lot of world building that goes on. It's not just about the characters and the monsters. It's about the weapons they use, the clothing they wear, the keeps and castles that they explore. And so Dark Horse and Kitchen and Sink Books put together a giant compilation of all my early work.
Oh, really?
That just came out a couple months ago. So we're here celebrating it with the release of a book called Realms, which is all my early work.
And those of you out here watching us who are coming to GenCon, Tony is back here like at the beginning kind of the Artists Alley area.
Yes, I'm in the art area.
And they can come and see you. And are you signing things? And
we're signing stuff. We're selling some prints. We're selling copies of the book. And I've been signing. It's been really great. I haven't been to GenCon in 12 years. I used to go all the time in the 90s. But it's been really awesome because folks will bring up their old D&D stuff from the beginning of my career, and then they'll bring my children's books like the Spiderwick Chronicles. So it's been really awesome to kind of see it all here. Really, I'm very touched by it all.
Well, yeah, I think it's really amazing that you've had this really great career, and you've reached out, and so many of my students are artists and want to be writers, and they love to read. So it's great for everybody to see an inspiration like you, to see what it is and what you can do, and especially for geeks like us, and we're just like, yay.
I'm just a nerd who loved to draw. I mean, and I was definitely a kid who daydreamed a lot, always had my head in the clouds, and I was very fortunate that I had my family and my parents were very supportive. A lot of my friends who are here with me today, they were very supportive, and that really goes a long way. You don't think it at the time, but as you get older and you're like, how did I get here? And you look back, you realize that encouragement can really make a difference in someone's life.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for letting me interview you and sharing your journey and your artwork. Everybody at GenCon, come out and see Tony. All my students that are watching, read Spiderwick Chronicles and believe in yourself. Thank you, Tony. It was nice to meet you.
Thanks, Colleen. Thanks for having me.
I'm Colleen. This is Tony. Geek out, SA.